Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SeatStory Cup number 3. Today here with me again, Numbersguy. He already joined us yesterday and I'm very happy that you're here again.
Thank you.
And we got some crazy games ahead of us. We got Firebat, the reigning world champion here, now going up against Faramir. That will be the first game we are covering today. And yeah, it's already day 2 of the SeatStory Cup. We had some crazy action yesterday. We saw some sick games. Numbersguy was playing himself, unfortunately eliminated, but he did his best and we really can't blame him for having misplays.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are just about to get started. Everything is just, getting started. The players just woke up like an hour ago.
Yeah, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, it was a long night, having fun and party and poker and
yeah,
all
because
of it.
that's what the SeatStory Cup is all about. It's about having a house cup and having fun.
To me, it's to watch and to be here it's the best esport event that is there in the world. It got more viewers than the World Championships. So that means something, and also for the players, it's pretty chill to hang out here, to play poker, to drink stuff.
Yeah, and we have 32 players, which is way more than at the World Championship, and also we get to cast all of the games. There's no games that's gonna be played off stream, which is amazing. We have 2 streams running all the time, so we can watch all the games.
Exactly. And are you jumping into the game already? Are the players good to go?
And we are seeing Paladin versus Druid in the first game. I believe, yeah, Firebat is playing the Paladin and Faramir is playing the Druid.
Yeah, very nice lineup here, as you said. Paladin against the Druid. And many people do not give any edge to any of those classes here. Many people say, many pro players say it's a 50-50. I would not agree to that. In my opinion, because of the swipes and the Harrison Jones we already see by Faramir, I would give the edge to the Druid. Do you agree to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I will give a small edge to the Druid. What I commonly hear for other pro players is that if you have Wild Growth, you're heavily favored, and if you don't have it, you're unfavored. But I actually find myself winning quite a lot of games even without the Wild Growth. Especially if you are playing that version with the Harrison Jones, as we see Faramir is.
Yeah, that's a key card really in that matchup. If you can draw like 3 cards from that Light Justice that comes with the Master 4 battle, it's pretty much a GG. Firebat goes for the aggression here. He coins out the Knife Juggler, and that leaves Faramir usually on turn 2. Against the Knife Juggler, you want to do something like Wrath, or at least play your own Wild Growth.
Or Innervate the Keeper, but he doesn't have any of these options right here. Really bad situation.
Yeah, Faramir's off to a very slow start, and now Firebat even top-decking that second Knife Juggler. He can put on more pressure, following that up with a Master 4 battle with 6 juggles. That's so much damage, and still here, nothing to play for
Faramir instantly just makes another hero power. I would definitely have played the Savage Roll there. I think maybe he's like a little bit quickly right here.
Yeah, well, he's preparing a big swipe. He's expecting the Master for battle now, and that's also what Firebat has to think about. And he goes for the shielded mini-bot, playing around that swipe, and that's very smart here to keep that Master for battle.
Yeah, I mean, like Faramir pretty much told Firebat, I have swipe in my hand. Here, go play your Master, and
yeah, and there we go. Finally, the swipe comes off, but next turn for Firebat. Very nice here to play the Master for battle if he wants to, because one swipe is already gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly the point where you want to saturate the board a bit more.
Definitely. But this actually works out quite good for Faramir, because he gets to play the Harrison Jones here, draw 3 cards. Maybe he can draw into the second swipe.
Exactly what we were talking about before.
Obviously, if Firebat were to top deck a Quartermaster, it would be terrible for Faramir, but he doesn't have it. He's
also pretty nice off with the Sludge Belcher. That's pretty decent here. You could also go for the Eldar Peacekeeper.
I like the Eldar Peacekeeper way more. You have 2 Eldar Peacekeepers in your hand. You want to get them out of your hand. 5 attack is probably the best Peacekeeper you're gonna get against Druid anyway.
I agree to that. It's very nice, and he has the equality banking his hand up, and it's a lot of pressure now on the board. And even if Faramir plays a taunt like a Druid of the Claw,
Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm from Moscow. Right now we're at the backstage for
This is 9 damage here on the board. Unfortunately, he would have to trade 1 dude into that taunt, so not just representing lethal here.
Yeah, Faramir goes for the Wrath and the Shredder. I can't fault him for it. I wouldn't have faulted him either if he had played the Wrath for 1 and trying to get the swipe. He is pretty deep down in his deck, so it's pretty unlikely, but maybe swipe would have been a board clear, so I wouldn't have faulted him for going for it as well.
And Firebat decides to go for the second Eldor Peacekeeper here.
Again, just continue putting on the pressure. I really like this decision by him. Faramir is under so much pressure.
When it's fashion week, I do like all my castings, readings, maybe shows, you know. It's really hard to keep relationship with my friends and everything, and just traveling, like living on the plane, you know. But once I come, like for 2 days, it was very like...
You have to expect an equality coming out of the Paladin.
I mean, if you use the combo here, you can clear the board, so that's not too bad. The other options is to play the taunt and try and hero power down something, but I think I'll go for the combo here, clearing the board, getting rid of everything. You're still at 3 health. Druid or Paladin doesn't have that much reach, so if he doesn't have True Silver, you basically can't die. So I like seeing the combo here, clearing off Firebat's board.
I totally agree to that. And yeah, it also depends on what Firebat is drawing now, because Faramir is really dealing with the board like that pretty easily here.
Yeah, and we do see an interesting card in the Paladin's hand. We do see the Ragnaros, a card we not normally see in these mid-range Paladins. We've even seen popular players like Trump trying not to run any 7 attack minions or higher to totally play around the big game hunter. Firebat here not choosing to go with that line.
That Sludge Belcher is also troublesome now for Faramir, because there's no easy way to get around that. So I expect him this turn to just taunt up here. You have to use your taunt, maybe play your Shade of Naxxramas.
I think I would go for the Savage Roar. With the Savage Roar you can clear the Belcher completely and you can taunt up.
But if you taunt up, then you're down to 2 HP and you're in consecration range. And it doesn't feel too good to be in that range.
I think I'll go for it anyway. Faramir, however, chooses not to go for it. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think I would have preferred to go for it slightly more aggressive. Now he dies to equality. It's kind of like pick and choose. You would also die to Owl this way. There's some more cards you die to this way than if you choose to clear it, but
yeah, you're right. It would have actually been better to just make you die to Consecration, because the chances, as you already pointed out, there are just 2 Consecrations in the deck.
Yeah.
But you have an Owl and probably 2 equalities, so that's 3 outs against 2 outs.
Yeah, that would also be something like maybe a Quartermaster would also be pretty good.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Anyway, game 1 goes to Firebat here, putting on a lot of pressure with his Paladin, and so that means Firebat is left with a Mage and a Hunter. Paladin already won a game, and we are jumping into the next game between those players.
Yeah, which is the Firebat's Hunter versus Faramir. Faramir actually chose, unlike almost every other player in this tournament we have seen, not to ban the Hunter.
Versus Faramir. Firebat's Hunter versus Faramir. Versus Faramir's Warrior is what you meant, I guess. Yeah. So, Faramir is playing with the Faramir class, with the Warrior.
Yeah.
And Firebat picks his Hunter here. It could still be a mid-range Hunter, but I expect to see a Face Hunter, because Face Hunter is so popular among, well, not only among pro players, among all the players.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a mid-range Hunter, but I also think we're gonna see... I also think a Face Hunter is very likely. Firebat has talked to me about how he thinks... Oh!
But it's a mid-range Hunter.
It's a mid-range Hunter.
There we go.
It's actually quite funny, because Firebat has told me how he thinks that Face Hunter is really strong at the moment, and then he goes and brings mid-range Hunter. Yeah. So maybe he tried to mind game me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Firebat sneaking in some mind games here.
But you know what? I really like to bring that he chose to bring the mid-range Hunter.
Me too.
I played mid-range Hunter as well, so
I also choose mid-range Hunter over Face Hunter these days in tournaments because you have a nice matchup against Druid, you have a nice matchup also against the Warrior that's very winnable here. With the Savannah High mains, with Dr. Boom, with the Ragnaros, you can deal a lot of damage, and that totally makes that matchup way better than just going with the Face Hunter and then potentially running into that Dr. Boom, into the Sludge Belcher and that Shield main. So
yeah, I also think it's he expected a lot of Hunter bans, so he thought if my opponent is not gonna ban Hunter, it probably means he has Warrior in his lineup. And against Warrior, the mid-range Hunter is very good. It's a very common idea that is used by many pro players when they select their decks, that if they think there's something that's very likely to be banned, then they say, oh, what decks does my opponent have if they don't ban it? Yeah. And then they trick their deck to be better on those matchups.
And Firebat has got a nice turn 5 here with the Houndmaster and the Web Spinner. He is then... well, Faramir tries to put his Sludge Belcher on the board. We could see that being taken out by the kill command, but I would still just go for the Savannah High main here. It's turn 6 and you want to play that High main.
Yeah, I think I would go for the kill command as well. You definitely want to play the High main on turn 6, but it just makes it so awkward to deal with the opponent's board.
You're right, it makes the board so awkward. You lose 7 damage just to the Sludge Belcher if Faramir trades into your Web Spinner. Now you could think about attacking with the Houndmaster and leaving your taunt unkillable for the Cruel Taskmaster. Oh, he trades it like that, so...
That's a little bit interesting. I think I would have preferred to have 2 health on my 4 attack minion instead of 2 health on my 3 attack minion.
And now it's very nice that Sylvanas is played. You can now take her out and then play the Savannah Highman. You wouldn't want to have it other way.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's pretty easy just to sacrifice both of your minions.
Sludge Belcher hero ability is also possible, but doesn't really make sense at this point.
You have to go for the Savannah Highman. I think the only thing was maybe if you got the 7 mana beast, Godzilla, off the Web Spinner, you maybe could have played that instead. But I definitely like the High main here way more than the Belcher.
And so next up, turn 8, probably Ragnaros.
Yeah, we see Firebat having Ragnaros in his
and also draws Dr. Boom. Those are the cards you want to have in that matchup.
Definitely. I really like Firebat's deck. I think it might be absolutely identical to mine when I look at it, so I really like it.
Oh, he even goes for Dr. Boom, even though he's losing some mana efficiency here, but he's gaining some more presence like that.
I think it's because you want to test for Big Game Hunter and then play the Ragnaros. You want to get the Big Game Hunter or the Execute.
The Big Game Hunter was top decked here by Faramir. It was exactly the card he drew this turn and now slams it on the board, takes out that Dr. Boom.
Yeah.
Just almost up, and yeah, he's in a defending position here. He is definitely on the ropes and has to do something.
And now you feel much more safe about dropping the Ragnaros. There's much less of a chance that your opponents can deal with the Ragnaros now. So I definitely think it's gonna be a Ragnaros this turn.
Well, if you want to be completely mana efficient, you could also think about a Piloted Shredder and Sludge Belcher, but like that, a Brawl would come in very handy here for Faramir. And it also depends on the bombs, what they hit, because if you trade them now and they hit the Acolyte of Pain for 1, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, it looks like the play Firebat is gonna go for is to attack in with the High main and then attack with both of the bombs.
Ooh, that's nice. That's nice what happens here. And he does the Sludge Belcher. He wants to stay on curve. And then goes for the Mad Scientist and the hero ability, the Steady Shot, maybe.
Yeah, I think he realized that his Shredder was playing too hard into Brawl, and then he kinda changed his mind. But I think this is playing pretty hard into Brawl as well, if you ask me. I mean, like, there is the 1 health on the High main, so even if it dies, you still have the 2 hyenas.
But the get-on is pretty nice here.
Yeah.
Taking out that High main, you draw a card from your Acolyte of Pain. Let's see. Wow, and she draws the Brawl. And now it might very well come off, because if Ragnaros is being played in the next few turns and those hyenas stay on the board, it's maybe an easy way to get rid of 1 hyena and the Ragnaros, because Firebat really does not want one of those hyenas to survive if you have the Fire Lord on the board.
Yeah.
He could also think about trading into Baron-Geddon here.
Now, if you trade into Baron-Geddon, you make the brawl 66% of being absolutely terrible, so I think it's better just to go face. Also, the Ragnaros had the option of shooting the Baron-Geddon, which would have been a lot better, also against brawl.
Yeah, and we saw a freezing trap coming down, so Faramir could not attack with the Baron-Geddon without getting it back to his hand.
Yeah. Faramir actually doesn't have to play the brawl. Yeah, he can go for the Death Spite, then the shield block, armor up, and the shield slam on the Ragnaros and clearing the ball. He goes to 15 health then. I think you feel pretty safe at 15 against mid-range
okay.
Hunter. Mid-range Hunter doesn't have a big amount of burst, so
yeah, that's true, and we've already seen Faramir deal with Dr. Boom and deal with Ragnaros.
Yeah, I mean, like, what more threats can Firebat have left in his deck except the second high main?
Well, he can just do the general hunter stuff. You're always adding some damage. If you maybe get a Huffer, that's another 4 damage. He also plays 2 kill commands, at least that's what I'm expecting here. So
he already played 1 though.
He only plays 1 kill command?
No, he played 1 already.
Yeah,
so
he played 1 already,
left.
but...
And there's probably at least 1, if not 2 quick shots left. I would expect 1. I think Firebat is the kind of guy who goes for 1 quick shot.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is Firebat still has the possibility to whittle Faramir down here and to bring in that damage over time if he manages to stay long enough in the game. But you're definitely right, by taking out those big creatures, he lost his win condition somehow.
Yeah, I don't think the game is over yet. I think Firebat is still in a fine spot.
Well, he's just one Savannah Highman left, and there's Alexstrasza also for Faramir for the heal up.
Oh, that's really good for Faramir. He'll still be at 9, and he probably doesn't feel very good being at 9 health, but he does keep the board clear. Oh, he goes for the Alexstrasza here. I think I would have waited a turn with the Alexstrasza if it was me. Been a little bit greedy, but Faramir isn't greedy, so he goes for the Alex here.
Ooh, Hunter's Mark. You wish you had your Unleash the Hounds ready now.
Definitely, you would have drawn 2 cards with the Buzzard. So Unleash would definitely have been a dream draw right here.
At least Firebat draws 1 card by using that Animal Companion. He just draws an Eaglehorn Bow. That's not really helping him out, and we can see that Harrison Jones, so that Eaglehorn Bow is maybe not gonna get enough value here.
Yeah, I really like Faramir's spot at this point.
And now Nimsh always says, if Dr. Boom is green, play it. So he would maybe suggest Faramir here to play Dr. Boom.
I don't think so. I think you're gonna go for the Death Spite, clear off the board. Play it safe.
You know, I will tell that Nimsh that he shall teach you some lessons about playing Hearthstone.
You know, I say on turn 7, if you have 7 mana and you have Dr. Boom, play it. But in this case, I would just go for the Death Spite.
I totally agree to you. I'm just messing with you. So the question is, do you want Alexstrasza to be sent back to your hand? Faramir decides to do so. He wants his Baron-Geddon left on the board. Will then trade into the Leok.
Well, he does go for the Dr. Boom. A little bit surprising.
Well, maybe he was talking to Nimsh before the game.
Maybe. You never know. I mean, like last turn you saw him go for a very defensive play with the Alexstrasza, which I think was a little bit over-defensive. And then this turn he goes with the very aggressive play instead. So.
But now he's representing lethal on the board already, leaving Firebat with 14 HP, and everything he's got is an Eaglehorn Bow and the kill command. You can take out that Baron-Geddon if you want to, with the kill command, swing to the face with your weapon. And
yeah,
just
like
hope that
it's the only play, right?
But what can you draw?
But I actually don't think I would kill the Baron-Geddon. I think I would have killed the Dr. Boom instead. So the
with the Hunter's Mark?
Yeah, Hunter's Mark, and then kill command the Dr. Boom. That way...
Baron-Geddon deals another 2 damage to the warrior's face. Yeah, I totally get that.
The 2 life matters for you. Like, I can tell you the 2 lives doesn't matter because warrior can either deal 10 damage, 12 damage, or 4 damage. Yeah. So the 2 life is totally irrelevant for you. However, we knew that the Harrison Jones was there and this game was already locked up. by Faramir.
Yeah, unless he draws into Leroy Jenkins, and there's the Iron Beak Owl. There's no Leroy Jenkins played in the mid-range hunter, so
yeah.
Firebat concedes here, and that's the equalizer here. For now, Faramir goes up 1-1 and wins with his own warrior against the hunter that Firebat did bring to the table here.
He could always have gotten quick shot into quick shot.
Oh my god. Really?
I've done that on
We
ladder.
have done some ladder play before, and he was telling me, like, we were playing some Face Hunter, and he was telling me, okay, everything you get to do now is draw quick shot and then kill command. And I was like, Numbersguy, really? Are you kidding me? But yeah, some very sick plays that Numbersguy is predicting here. And yeah, we have still the mage and the hunter left for Firebat, and Faramir can still play his paladin and the druid. It's also a very interesting choice here that Faramir chose the warrior. And even though we said the mid-range hunter has nice chances against the warrior, we saw it lose now.
Yeah, and I definitely think that it makes Firebat a little bit upset. It's definitely a matchup you really want to win, and it's a matchup he wanted to place. And his hunter deck doesn't look fairly good against Faramir's lineup now. It's pretty good against druid, but it's pretty bad against paladin.
It's decent. It's decent against Paladin. I would still give the edge to Paladin, right? But I would say it's just a 40-60 here.
Okay, I think I would at least give the Paladin 65.
60? Wow, okay, 5% difference here. That's
65
that's really
is a pretty good win rate when you talk about counters.
It's a very nice win rate. But also for Firebat lining up here, the Unleash the Hounds is very nice to counter something like Muster for Battle. But Faramir as well has the Zombie Chow in his hand. He has the Knife Juggler for early game pressure and the True Silver Champion for a little bit of heal up and for also some pressure on the board and to deal with maybe a Misha or a Leo coming out of Animal Companion. Firebat for now goes for either Haunted Creeper or Freezing Trap here. I would not give that Knife Juggler to my opponent by just trading it into the Zombie Chow. So he's thinking about playing that Freezing Trap, and he does it just now.
Yeah, I definitely can't fault him for this. It means that the Knife Juggler is going to come down here, and the Zombie Chow is going to come down for 3 mana on turn 3. So it kind of gives away the curve for Faramir. But
well, it still fits in to the curve of Faramir here, because he would not have a turn 3 drop, but it just delays it a bit. So Firebat now has some chance to stabilize and to get into the early game as well, because there was no real way for him to trade with that Zombie Chow, and it was also awkward for him on the board.
Definitely. And also we can see that Firebat do have the Knife Juggler Unleashed, so he can use that combination of cards to come back in the game in case he drops behind.
Yeah, that's always a game changer on turn 5. If you're facing a big board and then you go Knife Juggler with at least 3 hounds or maybe 4, that's always very nice. For now he goes for that Animal Companion, and it's a Misha, and that's very unfortunate because we see the True Silver Champion in Faramir's hand. He will take 4 damage from that, but
yeah, I think Misha was probably the worst one he could have gotten here. If he had gotten Leak, he could have killed the Knife Juggler. Hoffa, he could also have killed the Knife Juggler, but with Misha you can't, it's just gonna die to True Silver. However, it is true that if your opponent doesn't have the True Silver, Misha might be the best one.
Yeah, that's the thing, but unfortunately Faramir had the True Silver. Now that the Hunter's Mark is something he probably wants to keep here. This turn also does not really look good. You want to keep the combination of Knife Juggler and Unleash the Hounds. You want to keep that for turn 5 play in combination. So
and you want to keep the Hunter's Mark for the Knife Juggler Unleash. And you don't really want to kill any of these minions because you're gonna Knife Juggler Unleash. So
I guess you just take out your opponent's Knife Juggler here with your Spectral Spiders. He swings to the face with the steady shot. A Noah tap would be really cool here for Faramir now, but he does not have one and goes for a Piloted Shredder instead. That's a nice option here.
Yeah, and I think that Firebat is just gonna respond with his low fab. It's just on curve, really good right here. Yeah,
no real value here out of the Knife Juggler. Unleash, you want to make it a bigger combo.
But it is gonna be punished by the Elder Peacekeeper that Faramir has in his hand.
Totally, but then it seems very juicy to play the Knife Juggler with just with 3 hounds, and you can also use it with your Hunter's Mark. But well, Faramir does not even go for that. He wants to play his Sylvanas, face tanking a lot of damage here. But yeah, bringing the Savannahs on the board against probably... No, she would trigger first, so
yeah,
that's
she
not
would
even...
trigger first, so she
not even
wouldn't.
playing around the Savannah Highmane.
No, I'm like... I guess he just wants the 5/5 body on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting play. However, the 5/5 body is nice, so I can't fault him too much for that. And it is gonna eat up a Hunter's Mark here.
So Firebat is very passive here in the game so far. Not really putting on the pressure.
You think that that Sylvanas play is passive? I would say it's an aggressive play.
I said Firebat is passive.
Oh yeah.
Because Firebat can just use his hero ability every turn and cannot really put a lot on the board. Faramir is definitely the one putting the pace on the game here.
Yeah, but I do think that it will change a little bit this turn. I think we'll see the Knife Juggler unleash and then the Owl come out from Firebat, and he's gonna start pushing for some damage. And depending on how these knives hit, he's probably gonna attack most of them to face, I would guess.
Well, it also depends, because on turn 8 we haven't seen a consecration yet. Faramir has already drawn 10 cards, will draw the 11th card next turn, so you have to think about what to do with your hounds here. Going face, putting on the pressure, definitely the right choice, I agree to that, but it's also kind of a risk here.
Yeah, it's kind of a risk, but as we said earlier, Firebat is kind of behind in this matchup, so I think it's a risk you have to take, and Firebat always likes to take these risks, says, okay, he has it 60% of the time, but when he doesn't have it, I can win this game.
Exactly, and in this situation it pays off, because Faramir does not have an equality here to easily deal with what's on the board here. He just can play another Elder Peacekeeper and put a second Shredder on the board. And this turn, wow, kill command being drawn.
Damage. Oh, he can't do everything this turn.
Yeah, so unfortunately, but still, I guess you go for the Houndmaster here, and you should even play the kill command this turn.
Yeah, I think you keep the kill command. You can deal 7 damage this turn, and then next turn, if you draw a beast, you can kill him because he'll be at 7 health. And if you doesn't draw
already
beast,
so many beasts are gone. We have seen one haunted creeper.
But if you doesn't draw a beast, you can go for the Ragnaros and try and snipe him. We already know that Faramir doesn't have Consecrate, so unless he is to top deck it, there's not really a way for him to get through and push for lethal this turn. Again, Paladin don't have that much burst.
Wow, but there we go. Lay on Hands healing up, and that comes in handy here for Faramir. He's also smiling a little bit, because that definitely is a card saving him. Maybe he also gets the Vitality Totem.
Maybe, that would be amazing. Maybe he gets a Doomsayer. That would be terrible.
That would be very terrible. Oh, did you see Alish yesterday?
Yeah.
Getting the 2 Doomsayers out of that. Wow, that was crazy. 2 Doomsayers consecutively in 2 Shredders, and he was just turning crazy. He was jumping in the room.
Yeah.
But there we go, Faramir plays the Lay on Hands, will probably trade his Shredder, the 4/1 Shredder.
Looking a little bit annoyed right now. I can understand it, I would be annoyed as well.
And wow, he gets an Explosive Sheep. But that's not really good here, because if Firebat wants to trade that Explosive Sheep away, he will also clear the board by Faramir. It will just stay what comes out of the Shredder.
Well, I think it's pretty easy. You go for the Ragnaros here. You play the Ragnaros, you hit his face, and next turn you kill him with the bow, the kill command, and the hero power.
Yeah, that also seems like the turn for me, but I don't think that Ragnaros will hit face here. And he hits just an Owl or Peacekeeper. The chances were just 25% if we trust Blizzard by that.
Yeah, but if you trust a mass, it's a 50-50. Either you hit it or you don't.
It's a 50-50 and you always win the coin flip, so it's a 100% chance for a mass. But unfortunately, Firebat is not a mass, and he's not even having the luck of his teammate. And we will now see Faramir go for the equality and easily taking care of that Ragnaros, and can then even play an Emperor Thaurissan.
Yeah, definitely looking really good for Faramir right here. However, Firebat haven't lost yet. He can still come back into this.
He can still come back, but what does help him? Dr. Boom is not really helping him, because there's a second Elder Peacekeeper. Also, the Savannah Highmanes would just run into that Iron Beak Owl. And yeah, he has to put on some pressure. He has to do some hunter magic here.
The question here is, do you save the knife juggler in case you get the unleash?
I guess it makes no reason to play it here, because your opponent has a loot hoarder. He will just easily trade into that.
Yeah, the only reason I can think of playing it is for the quick shot. It's true, right?
We don't even know if Firebat plays a quick shot in that list.
Firebat has a quick shot in the list.
But right now he drops down to 2 HP. Well, and that's lethal for Faramir. You're playing that Consecration and closing it out. So Faramir, the player from Germany, is now leading against the current world champion Firebat here, and has his druid left to go up against the mage and the hunter. So even though we were really liking the choice of Firebat bringing a mid-range hunter to the board here, we were a bit confused now because he lost 2 games just by that. He was punished to bring the mid-range hunter.
I mean, like, he lost a favorable matchup and then he lost an unfavorable matchup, and I think now he queues into yet another favorable matchup, and I think actually there's only favorable matchups left. Actually, I think there's only favorable matchups left for Firebat, so I don't think he's too upset about it. That being said, Druid is definitely a class that can win an unfavorable matchup, so not looking good for Firebat right now. And that's a pretty good starting hand from the Druid.
Yeah, it's okay, but by playing that Shade here with the Innervate, you somehow lose your tempo. And how do you gonna follow that up? You now have the Shade on the board. Well,
yeah,
at least
gonna follow it up with the hero power, I think, but the Frostbolt is gonna come out here and deny that.
And we also have to say that's not a start here for Mech Mage. That's not really what you want to have. No turn 2 drop, just a turn 1 drop, just a Clockwork Gnome.
Yeah, definitely not a good start for the, I believe, Mech Mage. Again, Firebat running Ragnaros in his Mech Mage. Definitely an interesting choice, I would say. We're seeing some next level deck building from Firebat right here.
Well, Ragnaros is a choice that you can think about. It is sometimes adding just 8 more damage to the opponent's face, so...
Definitely, but I don't remember seeing Ragnaros in Mech Mage in any recent tournaments.
Yeah, totally. It's a decent choice. It's an interesting choice here, and it's definitely a bit off meta, but it makes sense. It's not too awkward. It's not like my Exna in the...
It's not like my Exna in mid-range Hunter, you're saying?
No, like my Exna in a Mech Mage, because that would be very awkward, you know?
That would have been weird.
Now he's preparing for the turn 5. We already said it. The Druid has a lot of 5 drops, so he's pretty heavy on that turn 5.
But the mirror entity is kinda gonna block them. Also, Faramir might trigger the mirror entity with his big game Hunter, but as we know, Firebat has the Ragnaros, and it's gonna end very, very badly for him if he does so.
Exactly, and Faramir decides to give his opponent a Sludge Belcher. He just goes for that, and Firebat also draws into Dr. Boom, so Faramir is very lucky and happy here to keep that big game hunter, because now there are already 2 targets in Firebat's hand.
Yeah, also that mad scientist might give him a second mirror entity, which might give Firebat that, which might end up giving Firebat that big game hunter anyway.
And I love that play here by Faramir. He top decked the Force of Nature and immediately uses it to clear the board with that. You could now also think about using your Sludge Belcher to trade that away, because it will survive, and then trade into the Spider Tank if you want to. And exactly that's what he does. You can now use... Firebat could now use his hero ability to trade that away, because there's also no nice turn 6 play here for him. So using the hero ability, and then... But he wants the secret, right? We are on turn 7. You want the secret.
Definitely.
You want it badly, because you're expecting Dr. Boom or Ancient of Lore. And... He gets a second mirror entity. Let's just check for that, because he might also play something else, but no surprises
I'm sure
here.
It's mirror entity.
No surprises here. You're sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're sure? Next level deck building. We see Ragnaros in the Mech Mage, and you are 100% sure.
You might play Ragnaros, but I think if you play this kind of Mech Mage list, you will always have mirror entity. And only mirror entity.
You trust Firebat in that?
I trust Firebat in that.
Yeah.
Just as I trust him running quick shot in his Hunter, you know?
Okay.
We didn't see it, but
yeah,
I'm sure it's in
I understand that. I totally understand that. But I am never so 100% sure because I have seen a lot of crazy things happen in tournaments already, so I'm very surprised that you can be so like, okay, no, I'm sure. It has to be there.
You need to be confident sometimes.
Yeah, in 99% of the cases, it's a mirror entity, and it was. So Firebat gets rewarded for playing that. He gets an Ancient of Lore on his side of the board, and he even decides to use his hero ability and the Fireball to take out the opponent's board and to add more damage to.
Yeah, he decided not to play the Dr. Boom, which I really agree with here. The 1-1 was really awkward. Also, if he had gone for the Dr. Boom, he would have been heavily punished by the big game Hunter.
Exactly. Exactly, so taking out the opponent's board is very nice. Faramir goes for Dr. Boom himself.
So, my question is, do you go for the Ragnaros here? There's basically two good targets, right? You can either hit the face and put him to 5.
Yeah, so it's a coin flip, but you're Firebat, you're not a Moss. So, are you gonna win that coin flip? Right now I got a good feeling.
Right now
do you also have a good feeling?
I mean, like, here's the roll chance. I think he wins.
Okay, I got a good feeling, and oh no! My good feeling is not right.
Well, at least the Boombot hit for one. But it didn't matter because of the big game Hunter, which is gonna come down here.
Yeah, probably we see the big game Hunter here. There's no reason to keep it. There's no reason to keep it for Faramir because you don't expect your opponent to have the Dr. Boom following up, and also even if he has a Dr. Boom, there's no reason not to play the big game Hunter.
I think he's looking for lethal with the Druid of the Claw, the Savage Roar, and the Swipe, but I don't think it's quite enough.
No, it's definitely not enough. It's 8 damage by the Savage Roar. It's then another 11. That's 19, 20, 24 damage.
You know, it's actually not that far off, you know. I understand why you take your time counted. You don't want to miss lethal on stream. You know, that's only me who does that.
Yeah, with the Knife Juggler yesterday. But that was BM, I heard.
Yeah.
Totally planned out.
100% BM.
Yes.
Totally planned out. And it looks like Firebat is gonna lose this match.
Yes.
Little bit unlucky, I would say. I mean, like, both his mid-range Hunter and his Magnates is, I would consider, favored against this Druid.
Definitely against the Warrior. I was very surprised to see the Hunter lose against the Warrior here.
Definitely.
And that was very well played also by Faramir, and I'm pretty sure we will see him close it out. Now, it also depends if he plays... How do you play that out? You get a lot of damage here.
Yeah.
So you got 12 mana available, so you can play Druid of the Claw, Swipe, and the Savage Roar. That's definitely possible. Oh, but look at that. We didn't even talk about the Kazan Mystic that Faramir brought to the tournament, so he prepared for some secret.
Yeah, it actually looks like he prepared really well for exactly Firebat's lineup, because Firebat has the Mage and the Hunter, and Faramir has the Kazan Mystics, which is most commonly used against both of those classes.
And the Boombot hits, and wow! Firebat takes out the Dr. Boom here, the 9-2. So Faramir is really well angry now, and
I think
like
that might have been a misplay.
Yeah, you had lethal also by not running your Boombot into the Annoytron, right?
Yeah, you could just have run the big game Hunter into the Annoytron, and
yes,
you would have had enough damage. So a little bit of a misplay, I would say.
So how much damage would you have? Yeah, it was lethal. So even though yesterday somebody commented on our casting where we were saying, "Oh, don't criticize the players," but obviously,
I don't know.
Also
it's hard to be a player. You're sitting there, you're under a lot of pressure, you're thinking about a lot of things, and often if you're in an uncommon situation, often lethal isn't the first thing you're thinking of.
Exactly, and so we can go with that and saying Faramir did miss some damage here, or maybe misplayed it. I didn't even really calculate it, because we as casters sometimes also do not have the time to calculate it all through. And now Faramir has Wrath in hand here, so he can kill the Snowchugger. He will also go for the Swipe to secure his board position, and he has 8 damage on the board. So the only thing Firebat could draw into this turn is either an Annoytron to survive the next turn, or the Frostbolt to kill Faramir here.
Yeah, definitely. A fireball, yeah, a frostbolt is definitely what he's looking for.
But there's a snow chugger, and that means Faramir has lethal damage on the board, or is there? Well, you can take.
You can fireball.
You can fireball the.
Extend the game even further, but I do think it's indeed over at this point. Unless, like, you never know what kind of tech card Firebat brought for this tournament.
But well, there's the 7th draw for Faramir here, and that means lethal. And with that, he's closing out the series, and he wins over the current world champion with a 3-1 victory here, and he will go up into the winners match of that group. But
definitely.
The second winner is not determined yet. We will be back with the second game of that series, with the second match of the series, and then we will find out who's gonna be Faramir's next opponent.
Do you know who's playing in the second match?
Yes, I know. I just forgot it. But it is also in the group.
Show versus Kungan.
Show versus Kungan. So either Show or Kungan facing Faramir, and then the elimination match. Firebat in the elimination match. That's very interesting to say that. But yeah.
That's not something you get to say very often.
But very nicely played here by Faramir. So after a quick break, we will be right back with some more Hearthstone action, and that's the time for you to get yourself comfortable, to get yourself something to eat or to drink. And I say thank you to Numbersguy joining me for commentating that game, and see you guys after the break.